Khans of the Steppe has 10 achievements in it, and it turns out that out of all of the 10 that exist, only one of them has a restriction on who can achieve it. The stallion that mounts the world asks that you go conquer the entire map as Genghis Khan. Thus, we have our main goal for the campaign, but we have 9 more sub-goals for this run. We'll go over each of them as they come up, as some of them don't really need much planning, while others will shape the way that we begin our playthrough. No reason to drag this out. This is a guide to all 10 of the Khans of the Steppe achievements, in case you wanted to get them all in a couple hours and wash your hands of them. I should note that a handful of these achievements have been slightly modified since the release patch. I did this playthrough on early access. For example, getting a max level Nerga is a bit harder than it was in early access. There may be other changes that complicate this process which I'm not aware of, but if you encounter any problems, you can drop a comment, and if you want a fast reply, join my Discord and just ping me. I have no life. Anyway, let's go and get all 10 of the new Khans of the Steppe achievements, starting as Temujin Borjigin. There are a couple of achievements which are easiest to get before becoming the greatest of Khans. If you don't already know, Temujin will automatically become the greatest of Khans within about, I think, 15 years of the game, not certain of that, so we have about that much time to get the first 4 achievements of this run. That's right, 4 of the 10 achievements are done before we even become Mongol Emperor. We're gonna get Blood of My Blood by just offering a blood brotherhood to anyone, but offer it to Jamuka for the historical accuracy, of course. That's one achievement. Next, we're gonna start migrating west. We don't really care about the quality of the land, we just want any land that we can get without much of a fight. To get step by step, we have to move from the east to the west steppe. I find it's pretty easy to migrate to the center, as there are lots of tiny little herders and local lords, but getting west is a bit tough. You'll probably have to hang out among the Siberian tributaries of the Cumans that sit between the Ural Mountains and the Volga River. Once you arrive there, that's the achievement. 2 out of 10 done. We're blazing through this, eh? We could have, in theory, migrated west after becoming greatest of Khans, but then our migration would be more difficult as we'd have to kick out the Cumans most likely. Since we're just a duke right now, we can pretty easily settle in among the tributaries. Next, we're going for Confed Up, which requires you to just make a confederation. It'll be easy to offer confederation to some random guy nearby. All we need is the piety and prestige to click the decision. It's important that you do this before becoming the Mongol Emperor because I'm pretty sure that you can't form a confederation as an emperor. Once you can click the decision, do so, and then offer confederation to any of the many tiny lords around you looking for safety from the Volga Bulgarians and Cumans. You might find yourself under attack from Volga Bulgaria, by the way, and if that happens, just recruit a bunch of Mangudai and use them, alongside Temujin's stats, to decimate them. It should be easy to stay safe. Once literally anyone on the map is willing to accept confederation, and you click the button, send the offer, and you'll have 3 of the 10 achievements. At this point, we now just have to wait until Temujin becomes emperor, but while we wait, we can do a bunch of Nergas to try and get Shut Up Nerj. As Temujin, you have good enough stats to be pretty likely to succeed in a Nerga, but it's a bit of a random chance given you need a certain set of events to fire during the Nerga in order to max out success. I got my max Nerga in a few tries, and with that, we have gotten all of these super easy achievements out of the way. That's 4 out of 10, and we can set those aside. From here comes the more interesting achievements and the beginning stages of the hardest one. We must conquer the world as Temujin in order to get the Stallion That Mounts the World achievement. I didn't really do much from the Nerga achievement until I became greatest of Khans, which happened to me in January of 1192. I'm not sure how long it could theoretically take to happen, but that's how long it took for me. With the Mongol Empire secured, we can immediately go for the greatest of Khans decision and face off against the people of the steppes to begin our great scourge upon the world. Interestingly, because folks like the Byzantines have land in the steppes on game start, they actually get involved in the War of Defiance, but all you have to do is defend your territory, so just stay close to your capital and take smart fights using Temujin's dominant martial score to wipe out your enemies. Using the Mongol hordes that you spawned in via event earlier, you can win every battle, and if you need it, spend your newfound prestige onto Mangudai who are super overpowered. I say this isn't too hard, but you can indeed throw, like I did a couple times. No shame in making mistakes and retrying, it's been known to happen even to the best of players. After you win the war, you'll become the greatest of Khans and become Genghis Khan by title. This immediately gives you this Chinggis everything, and means we are now halfway through the list of new achievements. How wonderful. Now begins the World Conquest, and thanks to the Demand, Submission, or Ruin button, even a relatively bumbling player can conquer the world with ease, assuming they can get past all the lag and performance issues that having a huge empire entails. No shade, Lath, by the way, you just happened to have uploaded your World Conquest at the time I was writing this section. Also, you missed a few islands, meaning your World Conquest doesn't actually count for the Stallion That Mounts the World achievement. Don't forget about the islands in your run, dear viewer, if you're aiming for this achievement. Anyway, here's the basic strategy for conquering the world. Click Demand Ruin or Submission on everyone, and only actually fight enemies that you can force to surrender pretty fast. One interesting mechanic with this button is that for every war that you win as Temujin, everyone on the map becomes more willing to accept submission. So we want to stack up victories against opponents of high rank that we can easily defeat, so we can stack up this modifier more and more. Empire rank realms will probably never submit to you, but you can definitely get kingdoms to submit. One pitfall you can avoid in your run is asking for too many special soldiers and siege troops from the random tiny counts and dukes you submit, because their units will only cause you more lag and you don't really need them. Another great piece of advice I have for you is that raising special troops is instant if you do it via the military tab and by clicking raise, like I'm doing in the video here. Your Mongol horde troops, maybe supported by some special units from the people you subjugated, can easily handle most realms in the game, and you can save yourself a huge amount of time by doing it this way. Another important note is that as a nomad, you don't have to lower your army to declare war, and on account of that, you can declare your wars strategically to have your men in position for a cascade of wars that won't see you having to re-raise your men for months at a time, if need be. Beyond that, I'd give more advice, but I'm sorry dude, you're Temujin. You can't fail. The only roadblock you'll find is that confederations will never submit to you, so if you come across one, leave it alone as long as possible in the hopes that they unite and become a simple kingdom which might submit. We don't want to waste our time on wars we don't have to do, and we don't care to manage the realm either, so anyone who submits we happily take. When you invade places like the Byzantine Empire, you'll get a ton of titles to give out, and I'd recommend just giving all their land to one massive Mongol Khan so you don't have to manage all the tiny vassals. You have, effectively, infinite vassal limit as Genghis Khan, but it's annoying to give out so much land to individual characters. I totally forgot to do this until way later in my run by the way, but you should build the Pleasure Dome building using the unending horde of wealth and prestige you have as Temujin. This will give you the In Xanadu achievement. I did this in my run after realizing I forgot to while I was conquering West African confederations. It's a good building to have, not that it matters when you're Temujin, let's be real. That puts us up to 6 achievements now. Anyway, continue your world conquest until you have only whatever empires and confederations remain on the map, and then strap in and prepare to fight through the infinite lag to defeat them as quickly as possible, then scan the map for islands like Socotra, the Canaries, the Maldives, and Iceland to make sure you have it all. I thought I had conquered the world until I realized I forgot the Canaries in 1211. I was very confused for a moment why the achievement wasn't popping. Turns out, I'm dumb. After getting those little Spanish islands, I was done and got the stallion that mounts the world. Do not be impressed, people. A world conquest as Temujin is child's play and took me a mere 3 hours of real time to actually do. That was the easy part. Okay, the easy part does continue on for a little bit longer actually. Now we can get the Tribute Band achievement. This requires us to have 30 tributaries. I did this by just going over to Germany and releasing 30 counts as tributaries. It took a bit to do because of lag, but it did indeed work. Don't forget to unpause the game when you do this so the achievement actually fires. I got the achievement just 1 day after conquering the world, since releasing tributaries takes 0 days to do. So, we've got 8 achievements as Genghis here. What 2 are left? Unfortunately, these 2 achievements are in direct opposition to each other. Now we enter the weird game theory phase of the game where we'll have to do some tricky stuff to win. Our 2 remaining achievements are Nobody's Business and Settling In. One requires us to use the Overrun Kingdom casus belli on a settled realm and establish ourselves outside of the steppe, and the other requires us to become tribal, clan, or feudal inside the steppe as a nomadic ruler. How can we do both? One will make us no longer nomadic and put us outside the steppe. The other requires us to be in the steppe and be nomadic. Well, here's the plan. We'll release some random schmuck as an independent realm outside the steppe, then use Overrun Kingdom on them. That will get us Nobody's Business. Then we need to conquer some land in the steppe and move our capital there so we can take the decision to become nomadic again. I ran into a few obstacles that got in my way during my playthrough, which I'll explain how to avoid in your run. Keep in mind, I did this run with no planning. I just saw that none of the achievements have any required starts except the Temujin one and went in blind. First of all, you can't use the Overrun Kingdom casus belli while you have the Mongol Empire, and I had just recently clicked the Reform the Great Cognate decision, which integrates every empire you directly hold into your primary title. That means there are no empire titles on the map except in the spots where I've released tributaries. I can't delete the Mongol Empire unless I have a second empire title. Well, in your run you have 2 options. Either just don't reform the Great Cognate, which keeps the de jure empires around, that works fine, or you can look really smart like I did and secure the Mediterranean. That creates the Kingdom of Balio Tirrhenia, which is always de jure under the Empire of Italia. Now you can make the Empire of Italia and make it your primary title. Once it's your primary title, you can destroy the Mongol Empire, meaning you no longer hold that title, allowing you to overrun a kingdom. The kingdom I chose, for no reason other than I felt like it, was Armenia, who I released and then truce broke to declare my war. Armenia is a bad idea because they're feudal. Going from feudal to nomad is way more work than going from tribal to nomad. In your run, find any tribal duke or king or whatever and release them after you become the Khagan of Italia, then overrun their kingdom. Make sure that the place you choose is outside of the steppe. Once you win that war, your realm will be destroyed and you'll take all those soldiers you had with you into your new humble kingdom. That's 9 out of 10 achievements. Now you just have to settle the steps. As a feudal ruler, which is what I was, this involves getting deposed and becoming an adventurer so that you can travel to a herder in the steppe and become a nomadic government, and then farming up enough herd to increase your dominance such that you can in fact settle the steppes. This is where I have to unfortunately present you with the greatest tragedy of this run. I floundered here. I was panicking, thinking I'd thrown my run away by being feudal and had ruined my chances at settling the steppe. I was trying to figure out how to become tribal or nomadic or an adventurer or anything that would help me return to the steppe nomad way of life. Then I remembered that failing to imprison a lord starts a tyranny war, and then you can just surrender, and as a Mongol cultural character, you always have the option to become an adventurer when you've been deposed. Okay, great. Temujin is an adventurer now. Find a herder, travel there, become a nomad. To settle the steppe, we need at least high dominance, which is a 10k herd requirement. That's not a small amount, but we're Temujin, master of war. We can humiliate local nomad lords to build up to 10k herd and then raise our dominance. There's a 5-year cooldown to raising dominance, so you'd think we'd want to jump from unruly nomads to limited dominance ASAP, but once we go to limited dominance, we can't humiliate anyone unless they have high dominance, which is much more rare in this area. Sadly, because I wasted so much time floundering as Temujin, I achieved 10k herd a bit too late for him to survive. He ended up dying in June of 1224 while I was waiting for the cooldown on raising dominance to expire. The moment he died, the cooldown reset because I was a new character, and as such, I hit high dominance as Temujin's son Yasuge, and then settled the steppe as a tribal, earning me the final achievement on July 25th of 1224. So yes, technically, this took 2 lives, but not because you can't do it in 1 life, it's because I threw and wasted time as Temujin while trying to figure out how to become nomadic from feudal. Had I not wasted even just a few more months, we'd have been able to do all of this as Temujin, and thus, I will continue to advertise this video as a 1 life all achievement run. Now, to my understanding, nothing has changed in any way since the release patch to make this exact plan not work anymore. In fact, I made it work despite making mistakes, and if you follow some of the bonus advice I gave earlier, you should have an even easier time than I did. If you do run into any problems, you can leave a comment and I might reply to it, but the best way to get in touch is to join my Discord, link in the description, and to just ping me with whatever questions you have. I'm quite active on my Discord. Looking over the world we've created by doing this, we see a land devoid of settled civilization. Everyone's a nomad, and there are Mongolian appointees from the lost empire of Temujin trying to hold on to their power, while other local warlords try to unite the fractured world they found themselves in. It was a truly chaotic playthrough, and an enjoyable world conquest, but certainly not a challenge. I would say I'm super proud and feeling GIGACHAD over this, but World Conquest with the new Greatest of Khans mechanics is very simple. Nonetheless, if you want every achievement in Khans of the Steppe, don't bother looking for individual guides, just come right here and get them all in 1 playthrough. Trust me, if you think you're not good enough to conquer the world, you're selling yourself short. I believe in you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for your time.